Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the world of Greek mythology, but not in the way you might expect. You might be thinking of grand battles and epic tales, but let's take a stroll down the less glamorous paths of the gods. Imagine a landscape where the divine is not just about heroics, but also about the everyday chores and tasks that even a god like Hermes had to deal with. Yes, that's right, Hermes, the swift messenger of the gods, had a to-do list too. You probably once survived this mundane journey through the unremarkable aspects of a mythological figure. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from and what time it is in your world. It's always fascinating to connect across the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Let's start with the very beginnings of Hermes. Figure born under some peculiar circumstances. Legend has it that Hermes was born to Zeus and the nymph Maia, tucked away in a cave on Mount Selene. His arrival was anything but ordinary. Imagine a newborn god, practically a toddler, already plotting his first haste. Yes, at only a few hours old, Hermes crawled out of his cradle and headed out to steal some of Apollo's prized cattle. Now, this wasn't just a simple theft, it was the kind of ingenious caper that made him famous. He fashioned sandals from tree bark to cover his tracks and even created a lyre from a tortoise shell, just to charm Apollo later. Historians still argue whether this crafty behavior was a natural trait or if it was nurtured by the chaotic environment of the gods. Either way, Hermes wasn't your typical god, he was a blend of mischief and efficiency from the start. Yet, beyond the cunning surface, there's a mundane reality to his life. Picture the divine toddler, not just stealing, but also learning to navigate the world, a baby god figuring out how to walk, talk, and even negotiate with his fellow deities. As he grew, Hermes became known for more than just his mischievous nature. He took on the role of messenger for the Olympian gods. But what exactly did that entail? Well, you might be surprised to learn that being a divine messenger was not all mystique and adventure. It involved a good deal of legwork, literally. Hermes spent countless hours running errands across the heavens and earth, delivering messages that ranged from the sublime to the utterly mundane. Can you imagine trying to keep track of all those messages? Hey Hermes, can you tell Poseidon that I'm not interested in his fishy business today? Or could you let Hades know I'm running a bit late for lunch? There was a whole lot of divine texting going on, sans the emojis of course. Between meeting the gods and relaying their messages, Hermes had to prioritize and manage time effectively, something we can all relate to today, even in our busy lives. In a sense, Hermes was like a delivery person in the ancient world. He didn't just pop in for a quick chat, he had to ensure that the messages were delivered with precision. Perhaps that's where his legendary speed came from. He learned the importance of efficiency early on. Running across the heavens, dodging the occasional thunderbolt from Zeus, and making sure he didn't mix up messages were just part of his daily grind. As we drift deeper into Hermes' world, let's not overlook another vital task he undertook, guiding souls to the afterlife. Imagine the divine logistics involved in that. Each day, souls would arrive at the river Styx, awaiting their journey to the underworld, and who was there to ensure that everything went smoothly? Right, Hermes. Now, you might picture this as a grand event, full of ethereal beings and dramatic farewells, but in reality, it was probably more like a long queue at a coffee shop, souls shuffling along, waiting their turn while Hermes juggled the paperwork. With Charon, the ferryman, Hermes would have to ensure that each soul was accounted for, like a customer service representative at a very somber airport. Historians still debate whether this role was more of a privilege or a chore, but one thing is clear, it required a level of patience and organization that would rival any modern-day bureaucrat. Picture Hermes, clipboard in hand, checking off names, while trying not to get distracted by the occasional lost soul wandering off. Balancing compassion with efficiency is no easy feat, even for a god. As the day would wind down, and the last soul was ferried across, Hermes would return to his other duties like overseeing commerce and trade. Yes, the god of messengers was also the patron of merchants, ensuring that deals went smoothly and that everyone was playing fair. He had to navigate the sometimes murky waters of business negotiations, which, believe it or not, could get quite complicated. Think about it. Bargaining over prices, ensuring honest transactions, and even helping to resolve disputes. It might not sound as exciting as epic battles or divine romances, but it was critical work. Hermes had a reputation to maintain, and a good deal could solidify a merchant's standing in society. In ancient Greece, where trade was vital, Hermes was a key player in everyday life. So, as we reflect on the mundane tasks of Hermes, it's essential to recognize that beneath the layers of mythology lies a god who, like many of us, had a job filled with ordinary but essential duties. From delivering messages to guiding souls, Hermes embodies the beauty of the everyday, reminding us that even in a world filled with gods, the mundane still holds immense value. As dawn broke over Olympus, the sun casting warm rays across the realm of gods, Hermes awoke not to the sound of harps or the laughter of feasting deities, but to his own list of tasks. One of his most celebrated creations, the lyre, was not just a musical instrument. It was a representation of his cleverness and creative spirit. Crafted from a tortoise shell and strings made from sheep gut, the lyre symbolized the merging of ingenuity with artistry. Imagine a young Hermes crawling around in a cave, desperately figuring out how to make a device that would not only impress Apollo but also capture the hearts of those who heard it. This wasn't simply about music, it was about establishing himself in the family hierarchy. After all, a good relationship with Apollo could lead to a smoother life. You know, like having a friendly neighbor who always returns your lawnmower in perfect condition. When Hermes finally presented his lyre to Apollo, it was not just a gift, it was a clever ploy to curry favor and, let's be honest, to distract Apollo from noticing he had just swiped some of his cattle. Historians still debate whether this initial act of musical generosity was truly a sign of brotherly love or a strategic maneuver. Whatever these case, the lyre became a symbol of their relationship, filled with an undercurrent of competition and camaraderie. Can you picture the god of music, Apollo, initially skeptical, his brow furrowing in confusion at this tiny infant playing a musical masterpiece? It's a scene that's nearly comical, yet profoundly charming. Now, while the lyre had its own charm, it also served as a way for Hermes to navigate his relationships with other gods, a tool for diplomacy. Hermes was a master negotiator, and his musical talents helped him smooth over disagreements and even settle feuds. Just like in today's world, where a well-timed compliment or a soothing melody can ease tensions, Hermes understood the power of music. He would often use this gift to create harmony among the gods, ensuring that the divine realm didn't descend into chaos. Yet, with such gifts came the mundane responsibilities of maintaining relationships. For Hermes, diplomacy meant more than just playing a tune, it required constant attention. He had to remember birthdays, favorite foods, and even specific quirks of each god. Picture him with a notepad, jotting down who preferred ambrosia garnished with honey and who liked theirs plain. It's an amusing image, akin to a busy office assistant juggling the preferences of a dozen co-workers, while simultaneously ensuring everyone gets their coffee just right. As Hermes navigated his relationships, he found himself swept into the world of trade. His influence as a god extended to the bustling marketplaces of ancient Greece, where merchants sought his blessing for prosperous dealings. Now, being the god of commerce wasn't all about lounging on a throne and counting gold coins. Hermes had to actively oversee transactions, ensuring that both sellers and buyers were satisfied. Imagine him hovering over the marketplace, wearing his signature winged sandals, his eyes darting back and forth, and occasionally stepping in to settle disputes. Now, was that a fair price for those olives? He'd say, balancing the scales with a casual flick of his wrist. Historians still argue about the extent of Hermes' influence in trade, with some claiming he was merely a symbolic figure while others argue he played an active role in negotiating significant deals. But one thing is clear, trade was a vital part of daily life, and Hermes' presence ensured it ran smoothly. Just think about how vital trade is in our modern economy. Without it, chaos would reign. Hermes was the bridge that connected buyers and sellers, ensuring that the marketplace thrived. But not all of Hermes' duties were glitzy. On a typical day, he might have to deal with less appealing tasks like settling debts. Picture this, Hermes, the god of commerce, having to knock on the door of a reluctant debtor, reminding them of their obligations. Hey, remember that goat you promised? Yeah, well, the deadline is now, my friend. It's a far cry from the grandiose tales of gods battling titans. Instead, it's a reminder that even divine beings have to handle their fair share of awkward conversations. Beyond trade, Hermes had another essential role, that of guiding souls. It seems almost poetic, but in reality, it was filled with monotonous repetition. Every day, Hermes would escort deceased souls to the river Styx, where they would wait for Charon, the ferryman. Can you imagine the sheer volume of souls? Oh, you again, Hermes might say to a familiar face, rolling his eyes slightly. Each soul had its own story, and while they deserved respect, the routine nature of the task could become tiresome. Historians continue to discuss whether Hermes' engagement was more of a privilege or a burden. Some argue that guiding souls allowed Hermes to connect with humanity, while others point out the drudgery of performing the same task day after day. Regardless, Hermes managed to find a way to make it work for him. He'd often share snippets of the latest gossip from the living world, providing a bit of entertainment for the souls as they awaited their turn. After a long day of mediating disputes, guiding souls and ensuring smooth transactions, Hermes would finally return to Olympus, perhaps feeling a sense of satisfaction at having completed his tasks. He may have been a god, but his life was filled with responsibilities that, while significant, often mirrored the mundane aspects of human existence. In this way, Hermes stands as a reminder that even in the realm of gods, the ordinary holds value. Just like any of us, he had to balance work, relationships, and the occasional bit of drama. As we explore the life of Hermes, we uncover a tapestry woven with the threads of both the extraordinary and the everyday. And in that blend, we find a certain comfort or reassurance that the divine and the mundane often coexist in surprising harmony. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the realms of Olympus and the earth, Hermes found himself once again at the center of divine communication. The role of messenger may sound glamorous, but in reality, it was a whirlwind of short deadlines and high expectations. Imagine Hermes, the fleet-footed god, darting from one end of the world to the other, carrying messages that ranged from urgent decrees from Zeus to simple reminders about dinner invitations. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty of what it meant to be the go-to messenger among the gods. You might think Hermes would be gliding elegantly through the sky, but the truth was often much more chaotic. The life of a divine courier involved navigating all sorts of weather from sunny skies to unexpected storms and, not to mention, the occasional encounter with grumpy mortals. "Excuse me, do you know where Mount Olympus is?" a bewildered traveller might ask, completely oblivious to the fact that the god standing before them was, in fact, their guide. Historians still debate whether Hermes' role was purely functional or if he had a more significant purpose beyond simple communication. Some argue that he facilitated understanding and harmony among the gods, while others see him as merely a logistical necessity. Either way, Hermes was a critical part of the divine ecosystem. Picture him juggling messages like a circus performer, balancing urgent notes with light-hearted greetings, all while maintaining the grace expected of a god. Every day, Hermes would wake up to a pile of messages waiting for him, each with its own level of importance. "This one is from Zeus," he might say, eyeing the glowing scroll, "definitely not one to be late on." Then there would be messages from Hera, often laced with her unique flair for the dramatic, and perhaps a light-hearted note from Dionysus about an upcoming festival. Each note required a different approach, and Hermes had to adapt quickly to the tone and urgency of each message. Now, let's talk about the logistics involved. Hermes didn't just zip through the sky on a whim. He had a schedule to maintain. Just like any modern-day courier service, he had to map out his routes. One moment, he would be off to deliver a message to Poseidon at the ocean's depths, and the next, he'd be racing over to Hades to share some gossip. Sometimes, he would have to prioritize who received their message first based on the severity of the content. If Hades is waiting on news from Persephone, that takes precedence, he might rationalize, calculating the emotional stakes involved. This constant juggling act could be quite stressful. Hermes often had to rely on his wits and charm to smooth over any hiccups along the way. Imagine him arriving at an impromptu meeting with an irate Hera, whose message had been lost in the ether. "I swear, it was in my bag," he'd exclaim, half laughing to diffuse the tension while doing a mental inventory of his delivery schedule. As if this weren't enough, Hermes also had to deal with mortal affairs. Occasionally, he would find himself tasked with delivering messages to humans, which added another layer of complexity. These interactions could range from the comical to the downright bizarre. Picture him appearing before a farmer who had just prayed for a bountiful harvest. "So, I'm here on behalf of Zeus, and he says your crops should do well this year as long as you remember to water them," Hermes would say with a grin, rolling his eyes at the simplicity of it all. Historians still argue whether these encounters had a deeper significance, as some believe they reflect the divine connection between gods and mortals. Others feel these interactions were merely whimsical distractions for Hermes. Whichever side one takes, there's no denying that Hermes had an uncanny ability to navigate both the divine and mortal realms with ease. His charm and quick wit turned potentially awkward encounters into amusing exchanges, leaving both gods and humans feeling a little lighter. Then there were the times when Hermes had to deliver messages that were anything but pleasant. Imagine waiting for a god to relay bad news, like the death of a beloved hero or the outcome of a prophecy. Hermes had to tread carefully, balancing his role as a messenger with sensitivity to the individuals involved. Okay, he'll just say this in the least terrifying way possible. He might prepare himself, silently rehearsing his words before appearing before a grieving soul. This aspect of his job is often overlooked but is vital in understanding Hermes as a character. He was not just a swift runner, he was also a compassionate figure who understood the weight of his words. This blend of efficiency and empathy made him uniquely suited to his role as he navigated through the emotional landscapes of those he interacted with. It's just part of the job, he would say with a shrug, perhaps a bit too nonchalant about the heavy burdens he carried. After a long day filled with messages, Hermes would return to Olympus, perhaps a little exhausted, but satisfied. His tasks may have seemed mundane in their nature, yet they represented a crucial element of maintaining order and connection among the gods. Another day, another message, he'd quip, settling down for a well-deserved break, pondering the absurdity of the situations he often found himself in. In the grand tapestry of mythology, Hermes serves as a reminder that even the most fantastical beings must carry out mundane responsibilities. His role as a messenger illustrates the importance of communication, connection, and the everyday tasks that bind both gods and mortals. So the next time you find yourself racing against the clock or juggling your own responsibilities, just think of Hermes, the god who managed to keep it all together own scroll at a time. As the celestial bodies twinkled in the night sky, Hermes found himself reflecting on another critical aspect of his divine duties, guiding souls to the afterlife. This role, often overshadowed by his more glamorous tasks, was rooted in a sense of responsibility that transcended mere duty. Picture a serene landscape, shrouded in mist, where souls lingered at the banks of the river Styx, waiting for their turn to cross to the other side. The atmosphere was filled with a sense of calm, but also an underlying tension after all. Not everyone was keen on facing their fate. Being the guide of souls wasn't just about ferrying spirits from one realm to another. It involved a multitude of everyday interactions that required a delicate touch. Imagine Hermes, dressed in his winged sandals and carrying a caduceus, approaching a confused soul. "Hello there, I'm Hermes, ready to help you move on. But first, let's have a little chat about your life," he might say with a reassuring smile. This initial conversation was vital in easing the transition. The souls were often disoriented and frightened, not quite ready to let go of their earthly lives. Historians still debate the nature of Hermes' guidance. Some scholars argue that he was merely a facilitator of passage, while others believe he played a more profound role in ensuring that souls were prepared for their journey. Regardless of the interpretation, Hermes had a knack for comforting the anxious as they crossed the threshold into the unknown. "It's not as scary as it seems," he would assure them, weaving tales of the afterlife, perhaps embellished with humor to lighten the mood. "Trust me, Hayes is more of a laid-back guy than you'd think." One of the most routine, though paradoxically profound, aspects of this role was the paperwork involved. Yes, even in the realm of the dead, forms had to be filled out. Hermes would often find himself buried under scrolls detailing the names of the deceased, their life stories, and any lingering business they had unfinished on Earth. "Just when you think you're done with life, there's still paperwork to deal with," he'd joke, rolling his eyes at the absurdity of it all. Picture him sitting on a rock, quill in hand, scribbling furiously while souls hovered nearby, occasionally peering over his shoulder. The process of guiding souls was often a mix of the serious and the mundane. There could be days when Hermes was met with a long line of souls, each with their own stories and baggage. Next, he would call out, trying to maintain some semblance of order. He'd have to carefully listen to their stories, often guiding them toward closure. "So, did you ever tell your sister how much you loved her?" he might ask, prompting reflection before they embarked on their journey. It's a touching image, really a god, amidst the chaos of life and death, serving as a compassionate listener. But there were also the moments of sheer absurdity. Imagine a flamboyant soul who couldn't stop talking about his past glories, like a long-winded uncle at a family gathering. "I was a hero, you know," he'd declare, puffing out his chest. Hermes, trying to keep the peace, would nod patiently, glancing at the other souls who were tapping their feet in impatience. Yes, that's great, but do you have any unfinished business? Something to wrap up before you head over?" He had to juggle the reality that some souls wanted to linger longer than necessary, caught in the web of their earthly attachments. The journey across the river Styx itself was quite the logistical affair. Charon, the ferryman, would wait for Hermes to gather the souls before setting off. Imagine Hermes standing at the riverside, gesturing to Karen, who would reluctantly agree to ferry them across. For the love of the gods, you need to keep moving, Hermes would urge, feeling the weight of souls behind him. We can't keep the afterlife waiting. Along the way, Hermes would often share snippets of gossip from the living world to keep the mood light. You'll never believe what Apollo did yesterday. You know, he tried to impress some nymphs by singing a really off-key tune. This blend of humor and warmth helped alleviate the fear that often accompanied the soul's journey. Once they reached the other side, Hermes would gently nudge each soul in the right direction. That's your spot right over there. Just follow the path to Hades' realm, he would say, pointing them in the right direction. For many, this was a bittersweet final goodbye to their earthly lives. And as they ventured into the unknown, Hermes would offer a friendly wave, a small gesture to remind them that they wouldn't be alone, even in death. Historians have long debated whether Hermes' guidance was primarily a task of duty or if it held a deeper significance in the realm of mythology. Some view it as a transition, a necessary step in the cycle of life and death. Others suggest that it reflects Hermes' unique ability to connect with both the living and the dead, serving as a bridge between worlds. After a long day of guiding souls, Hermes would return to Olympus, a mix of exhaustion and satisfaction swirling inside him. His role as a psychopomp and escort of souls was a vital part of his identity, merging the extraordinary with the everyday. As he settled down, perhaps sharing a drink with his fellow gods, he might reflect on the countless lives he had touched. In the end, Hermes stands as a symbol of both the mundane and the profound. While his tasks may seem ordinary at first glance, they encapsulate the human experience of transition, the fragile nature of life, and the importance of connection even in the afterlife. So as we wander through our own lives, navigating the comings and goings, let's remember Hermes, the gentle guide who helped souls find their way home, one step at a time. As twilight settled over the land, Hermes prepared to delve into yet another essential aspect of his multifaceted role, the world of commerce and trade. It's a realm full of bustling markets, eager merchants, and the tantalizing aroma of freshly baked bread mingling with the earthy scent of fruits and herbs. You might envision the lavish bazaars of ancient Greece, where the vibrant tapestry of colors and sounds created an atmosphere of excitement and anticipation. But for Hermes, navigating this world involved more than just admiring the goods. It required an intricate understanding of human nature and a keen sense of fair play. While Hermes was celebrated as the god of trade, it's important to remember that his duties extended far beyond merely blessing transactions. Much like a modern-day mediator, he often found himself in the thick of negotiations, ensuring that both buyers and sellers walked away satisfied. Imagine him mingling among the crowd, his winged sandals allowing him to flit from stall to stall, listening in on conversations and offering sage advice. Now, if you lower your price just a tad, I guarantee that customer will come back for more, he might suggest, flashing a charming grin that instantly put the merchant at ease. Historians continue to debate the extent of Hermes' influence in the realm of trade. Some scholars argue that he merely provided a symbolic presence, while others contend that he actively shaped the economic landscape of ancient Greece. Regardless, his role was vital. Picture him hovering at the edge of a marketplace, watching intently as merchants squabbled over pricing, all while thinking about how he could step in to diffuse the tension. Isn't it better to work together for mutual benefit? He'd chime in, reminding everyone of the value of cooperation. The daily tasks of Hermes in this realm were often repetitive yet crucial. He would oversee contracts, ensuring that deals were honored and that no one was trying to pull a fast one. Now, remember, an oath is as good as your word. He'd remind the parties involved, knowing that trust was the bedrock of successful trade. This commitment to fairness was essential, as it fostered a sense of community among the merchants, making them more likely to return to one another for future dealings. But Hermes' involvement wasn't limited to just overseeing transactions. He often found himself entangled in the lives of the merchants he helped. For example, one evening, he might visit a struggling seller of pottery who lamented over unsold wares. Everyone wants gold and jewels, but nobody appreciates the beauty of earthenware, she sighed, her eyes filled with frustration. Picture Hermes leaning against a wall, tapping his chin thoughtfully before responding. Perhaps you need to tell the story behind each piece. People love a good tale to go with their purchase. With that advice, he would watch as the potter transformed her business, imbibing her wares with narratives that captivated customers. As they listened intently, they began to see the beauty in the ordinary. Hermes knew that fostering relationships and narratives was just as important as the trade itself. Yet, there were days when the marketplace was rife with conflict. Disputes over pricing and perceived injustices were common occurrences. Hermes often had to intervene, stepping into the fray with charm and diplomacy. "Now, let's not get hasty," he'd say, raising his hands to ease the tension. "Why don't we all sit down and discuss this over a cup of wine?" His ability to diffuse conflict and foster goodwill among the merchants exemplified his importance as the god of trade, a role that required not only shrewdness, but also compassion. Beyond the immediate transactions, Hermes also held a broader responsibility to encourage fair dealings and to help establish the ethical standards of commerce. He understood that while trade could lead to wealth, it could also foster greed and envy if left unchecked. "Remember," he'd say, "a thriving community benefits everyone. Wealth isn't just about gold, it's about the connections we build." This philosophy guided him through his daily tasks, shaping the moral framework of the marketplace. In the evenings, after the hustle and bustle had quieted down, Hermes would often reflect on his day. He'd find himself in a familiar spot, perched on a hill overlooking the marketplace. The sounds of laughter, bargaining, and even the occasional argument filled the air, creating a symphony of life. As he watched the merchants close their stalls and bid farewell to the day, he felt a sense of satisfaction. He had not only facilitated trade, but also fostered relationships that would last beyond the next transaction. One particularly amusing day, Hermes encountered a merchant who had a knack for exaggeration. "My wares are the finest in all of Greece," the man declared, waving his arms dramatically. Hermes, with a twinkle in his eye, decided to play along. "Surely, they're worth their weight in gold," he replied, a smirk playing on his lips. The merchant, oblivious to the jest, nodded vigorously, convinced he was indeed the best. Hermes couldn't help but chuckle to himself, marveling at the quirks of human nature. Historians still ponder whether Hermes' role as a god of trade was merely a reflection of the economic realities of ancient Greece, or if it served a deeper purpose in shaping societal norms. Regardless, Hermes was a central figure in the world of commerce, reminding mortals that trade was about more than just goods. It was a bridge connecting lives, stories, and communities. As the stars glimmered overhead, Hermes nestled into his thoughts. He was more than a mere messenger, he was an architect of connection, weaving the threads of commerce into the fabric of society. From overseeing transactions to mediating disputes, Hermes embodied the spirit of trade, demonstrating that even the most mundane of tasks could shape destinies and build community. With a satisfied sigh, Hermes prepared to slip into the realm of dreams, reflecting on the importance of his role in the grand tapestry of existence. And as he did, he couldn't help but wonder what the next day would hold in the ever-changing world of mortals and gods alike. As the dawn broke, casting a golden hue across the landscape, Hermes found himself contemplating another vital aspect of his divine responsibilities, the protection of travelers. This role, while often overlooked, was steeped in significance, especially in a world where journeys could be perilous and fraught with challenges. Picture the roads of ancient Greece, dusty trails winding through rugged hills, dense forests and bustling villages, with uncertainty lurking around every bend. It was here that Hermes served as the guardian of those who dared to embark on their adventures. Imagine a weary traveller, laden with goods and hopes for a successful journey, setting out at dawn, unaware of the potential dangers ahead. Who would be watching over them? Hermes, in all his winged glory, would ensure they arrived safely at their destinations. "Fear not," he might say, appearing with a flickering smile. "He'll guide you along the way." His presence alone could instill a sense of calm, reassuring mortals that they were not alone in their journeys. Historians still debate the extent of Hermes' influence in safeguarding travelers. Some scholars argue that he merely served as a symbolic protector, while others suggest he actively intervened in times of danger. Regardless, his role was crucial in a society that depended on trade, travel, and exploration. Without someone looking out for them, travelers would often find themselves in dire straits, a band of robbers waiting in the shadows, treacherous paths hidden by overgrown foliage, or even wild animals lurking nearby. Picture Hermes on a busy day, flitting from one traveler to another, offering guidance and blessings. "This route is safe, but the one to the left, not so much," he'd advise, pointing out the best paths to take. His knowledge of the terrain was unmatched, allowing him to steer mortals away from threats while ensuring they could still reach their desired destinations. But beyond simply providing directions, Hermes also played an essential role in fostering camaraderie among travelers. It was not uncommon for him to bring together strangers heading in the same direction, perhaps a merchant with goods to sell and a farmer traveling to trade. Why not share the journey? He might suggest, encouraging them to form alliances against potential dangers. This camaraderie not only made the journey safer, but also enriched their lives with shared stories and experiences. One evening, Hermes encountered a group of weary travelers huddled around a campfire. They were recounting tales of their adventures, laughter mingling with the crackling of the flames. Sensing an opportunity to spread good fortune, Hermes decided to join them, appearing as a charismatic stranger. "What tales do you have to share?" he asked, leaning in eagerly. As they spun their yarns, Hermes sprinkled in a few of his own amusing anecdotes, weaving a tapestry of shared experiences that lightened their hearts. Yet not all journeys were filled with laughter. Occasionally, Hermes would find himself in the midst of dire scenarios. Picture him standing at the side of the road, witnessing a traveler being accosted by bandits. In a flash, he would intervene, using his wit and speed to scare off the assailants. "You picked the wrong target today," he'd declare, his tone playful yet authoritative. With a wink, he'd assure the traveler, "You're safe now. Just keep moving along." This dynamic interplay between danger and protection was a daily reality for Hermes. Each encounter taught him something new about the human experience, the vulnerability, the resilience, and the thirst for adventure that lay within every traveler. His role as a protector was not just about safety. It was a reminder that the journey itself was as essential as the destination. Historians continue to ponder the deeper significance of Hermes' role as the protector of travelers. Some view it as a reflection of the community spirit that thrived in ancient Greece, where people depended on one another for safety and support. Others argue that his protection mirrored the chaos of the world, a chaotic arena where gods and mortals alike navigated the unpredictability of life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Hermes would often return to Olympus, reflecting on the day's events. Each traveler he had aided added to the rich tapestry of his experiences, reinforcing the idea that every journey was woven into the larger narrative of existence. He felt a profound kinship with the mortals he encountered, understanding their fears, hopes and dreams as they traversed the often treacherous paths of life. On one particularly amusing occasion, Hermes overheard a traveler boasting loudly about his skills in navigating the wild. "I can find my way anywhere," the man exclaimed, puffing out his chest. Hermes, ever the trickster, decided to play a little game. "Oh, really? Let's see how you do on the path ahead. There's a fork coming, and I'll be curious to see which way you choose," he challenged, a playful glint in his eye. When the traveler inevitably chose the wrong path, Hermes couldn't help but chuckle. "Looks like you might need some assistance after all." With a friendly grin, he guided the traveler back onto the right course, ensuring that the man learned a valuable lesson about humility. As the stars twinkled overhead, Hermes settled back, knowing that his role as the protector of travelers was an integral part of the balance between adventure and safety. He was reminded that even in a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, a little guidance and companionship could make all the difference. In the grand scheme of life, Hermes lived as a testament to the journeys we all undertake, whether they are physical, emotional, or spiritual. So the next time you find yourself on an adventure, whether it's a simple trip to the grocery store or a grand voyage across the globe, know that Hermes is out there, watching over travelers, infusing their paths with protection, camaraderie, and a touch of divine mischief. As the first light of dawn crept over Olympus, Hermes found himself reflecting on another intriguing facet of his life, the renowned mischief that accompanied his name. Known for his quick wit and sharp tongue, Hermes was not just the messenger of the gods, he was also a master trickster, often engaging in playful antics that left both gods and mortals bewildered. While his mischievous nature may have seemed inconsequential at times, it served a purpose in the grander scheme of divine interactions, often providing laughter, lessons, and a touch of chaos. Picture a typical day in the life of Hermes, where the air is thick with anticipation. He might wake up with a particularly mischievous idea, ready to set it into motion before breakfast. Perhaps he had overheard Zeus boasting about his latest thunderbolt or Apollo bragging about his musical prowess. "Oh, this calls for a little fun," he might think, plotting a prank that would elicit laughter from the other gods and remind them not to take themselves too seriously. Historians continue to debate the motivations behind Hermes' trickster persona. Some argue that his actions were simply a way of asserting his independence in a world dominated by more powerful deities. Others suggest that he acted as a catalyst for change, using humor and mischief to challenge the status quo. Whatever the motivation, his antics brought a sense of levity to the often serious affairs of the Olympians. One of Hermes' most famous pranks involved stealing Apollo's cattle shortly after his birth. Imagine the chaos that ensued when Apollo realized his prized herd had vanished overnight. Hermes, with a cheeky grin, had cleverly disguised his tracks using some rudimentary sandals made from tree bark. "How could anyone possibly outsmart me?" Apollo would exclaim, searching high and low for his missing cattle. Meanwhile, Hermes would revel in the hilarity of the situation, all while making sure to return the cattle later to avoid any serious wrath from his brother. But Hermes' mischief extended beyond simple pranks. Often, his antics served a more profound purpose, like teaching a lesson or exposing the flaws in a god's character. For instance, when he caught Aphrodite attempting to manipulate the affections of several mortals, he playfully intervened. "Isn't it more fun when love is genuine rather than contrived?" he would tease, prompting everyone to reflect on the nature of attraction and affection. His playful interference often encouraged others to reconsider their actions and motivations in a world where appearances could be deceiving. On another occasion, Hermes encountered a traveler who was boasting about his ability to outsmart the gods. "I could trick Zeus himself," the man declared, puffing his chest out with bravado. Taking advantage of the moment, Hermes decided to put the man to the test. "All right," he said with a playful smirk. "Let's see you outsmart me first." Hermes set up a series of elaborate challenges, each one designed to highlight the folly of the traveler's arrogance. When the man ultimately failed, Hermes laughed heartily. "Remember, my friend, even the cleverest mortals can be outwitted. Humility goes a long way." Yet, Hermes didn't just play pranks for the sake of entertainment. He understood the importance of laughter in the lives of gods and mortals alike. Humor served as a balm for the stresses of existence, reminding everyone to take a step back and not take themselves too seriously. On a particularly tense day on Olympus, where the gods were embroiled in disputes, Hermes might step in with a well-timed joke or a cleverly orchestrated prank, lightening the atmosphere. "Surely, it's not worth fighting over a golden apple," he'd quip, a mischievous glint in his eye. Historians often ponder whether Hermes' trickster role was a deliberate counterbalance to the seriousness of the divine order. While gods like Zeus wielded great power and authority, Hermes brought a refreshing dose of levity that reminded everyone of the whimsical nature of existence. He was the embodiment of spontaneity, a reminder that life was not merely about rules and order, it was also about embracing the unexpected and finding joy in the chaos. As the day wore on, Hermes would often find himself exhausted yet exhilarated from his antics. After a day filled with laughter, pranks and unexpected challenges, he'd lounge atop a mountain, gazing out at the enchanting scenery. Reflecting on the laughter shared and the bonds formed, he felt a profound sense of satisfaction. His role as a trickster reminded him that the unpredictability of life was a gift, and that joy could be found even in the most mundane situations. One particularly quiet evening, Hermes decided to orchestrate a little drama among the gods. He filled a bowl with ambrosia and challenged them to a game of riddles, promising that the winner would be the first to choose their portion. The gods eagerly participated, each trying to outwit the other. Laughter echoed through the halls of Olympus as they stumbled over their own cleverness, and Hermes revelled in the camaraderie that ensued. "See, it's all about having fun," he declared, triumphantly enjoying the moment. In the grand tapestry of mythology, Hermes embodies the duality of existence, the serious and the silly, the divine and the mundane. His mischief serves as a reminder that laughter and playfulness are essential aspects of life, allowing us to navigate the ups and downs with a lighter heart. So, as we traverse our own journeys, let's embrace the playful spirit of Hermes, finding joy in the unexpected and remembering that sometimes a little mischief can lead to profound insights. As the stars twinkled overhead, Hermes settled down, content with the day's adventures. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities for fun, and he looked forward to weaving another chapter into the vibrant tapestry of life, one playful moment at a time. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the idyllic landscape of Olympus, Hermes prepared to explore a different aspect of his divine life, the rituals and sacrifices made in his honor. While many might think of grand ceremonies and elaborate offerings dedicated to the mighty gods like Zeus or Athena, Hermes was often celebrated in more subtle ways, reflecting the humdrum yet essential nature of his presence in the lives of mortals. Imagine a quaint village where farmers, merchants and travelers gathered to pay homage to Hermes, their protector and guide. Each spring, as the earth bloomed anew, the villagers would come together to celebrate the season with a festival dedicated to him. These rituals were not just about worship. They were about recognizing the everyday blessings Hermes provided and the safety he ensured during their countless journeys. Historians still debate the significance of these rituals, with some believing they were more about the community coming together than actual worship. Others argue that such acts were a means of maintaining favor with the gods. Regardless, the ceremonies served as an essential heartbeat of the village, bonding the community through shared experiences and gratitude. Picture the vibrant scene, villagers adorned in their finest attire, gathered around a large altar decorated with flowers, fruits, and small tokens of appreciation. Children would run around, their laughter echoing in the air, while adults gathered to share stories of their travels and the encounters they had experienced with Hermes. "You won't believe how he guided me through the storm last week," one farmer would recount, eyes sparkling with excitement as he shared his tale. The rituals themselves were often simple yet profound. Offerings of honey, bread, and small crafted item symbols of trade and travel were placed upon the altar. Villagers would recite prayers, thanking Hermes for his guidance and asking for continued protection on their journeys. "May Hermes bless our roads, keep us safe from harm, and help our businesses prosper," they would chant in unison, setting an intention for the coming months. Yet, it wasn't just about the offerings. It was the stories shared and the laughter exchanged that truly honored Hermes. He was a god who thrived on connection, and these gatherings provided a space for joy and camaraderie. Imagine Hermes, invisibly among them, feeling a swell of happiness as he witnessed the community bond over tales of mischief, close calls, and triumphs. Each story served as a thread, weaving a rich tapestry of shared experiences, the very essence of what Hermes represented. As the festivities continued, villagers would often engage in friendly competitions, races, games, and contests to honor the swift-footed god. Picture the scene. Two young men, lined up at the starting line, ready to sprint toward a distant tree. "He'll beat you this time," one would shout, while the other smirked confidently. Laughter would fill the air as the crowd cheered them on, embodying Hermes' spirit of playfulness and competition. Yet, not every ritual was purely celebratory. There were moments of solemnity as well. In times of hardship, such as after a poor harvest or a devastating storm, villagers would gather once more to seek Hermes' favor. They would light candles and offer their heartfelt prayers, asking for guidance during difficult times. "Help us find our way through this darkness," they would plead, their voices tinged with hope. Hermes, known for his compassion, would listen, offering comfort and support even in the most challenging moments. Historians still argue whether Hermes' role as a protector was simply a construct of human imagination or if there was a genuine connection that transcended the boundaries of the divine and the mortal. Regardless, the rituals dedicated to him reflected a deep-rooted understanding of the interconnectedness of life. The villagers expressed their collective gratitude and established a relationship with the divine realm that was as ordinary as it was extraordinary. Even as the festival would come to an end, the blessings of Hermes lingered in the hearts of the villagers. They would return to their daily lives, but the memories of that shared experience would continue to nurture their spirits. "Remember how we celebrated last spring?" one villager would say as they trudged along the path, feeling a bit more connected to their neighbors. As Hermes watched over them, he felt a quiet satisfaction. His influence might not always be grand or overt, but it was profound in its simplicity. He existed in the spaces between stories, in the laughter of friends, and in the safety of those travelers who embarked on their journeys with gratitude in their hearts. Reflecting on the day's rituals, Hermes understood the importance of these moments in fostering community and connection. He was reminded that even in the most mundane of tasks, there was beauty, a gentle reminder that life's richness lay not only in grand achievements but also in the quiet moments of shared joy and gratitude. As night fell and the stars twinkled brightly overhead, Hermes settled down, his heart full of warmth. He was more than just a trickster or a messenger. He was a vital part of the human experience, an embodiment of connection, laughter, and the simple joys of life. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, and he looked forward to weaving yet another day into the fabric of existence filled with rituals, stories, and the shared spirit of humanity. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the misty skies, Hermes found himself drawn to yet another integral part of his divine persona, his role in the world of sports and games. While many might associate the gods with epic battles and grand tournaments, Hermes had a distinct and vital part to play in the arena of competition that reflected the values of skill, teamwork, and spirit. In ancient Greece, athletic events were not mere contests of strength but celebrations of human potential, and Hermes, with his swift feet and cunning mind, was often at the heart of it all. Picture the vibrant scene of the Olympic Games, a festival where athletes from various city-states gathered to compete in a spirit of camaraderie and honor. As the crowd cheered and the air buzzed with excitement, Hermes stood at the periphery, watching with keen interest. He was not just a spectator, he was deeply involved in the organization and execution of these events, ensuring that everything ran smoothly. Historians still debate the extent of Hermes' involvement in the games. Some suggest he served as an overseer, ensuring fair play and sportsmanship among competitors. Others argue that he actively participated, perhaps even competing himself, reveling in the thrill of athleticism. Regardless of the interpretation, his presence was felt, embodying the spirit of competition and encouraging athletes to strive for greatness. One of the most fascinating aspects of Hermes' role in sports was his connection to the concept of speed. As the god of messengers, he was often associated with swiftness and agility, which made him a fitting patron for races and other athletic competitions. Imagine young runners lining up at the starting line, hearts pounding in anticipation, while Hermes whispered gentle encouragement to each of them. "Just remember to focus, and don't trip over your own feet," he would call out, a playful smirk tugging at the corners of his mouth. As races commenced, Hermes would watch intently, reveling in the energy and excitement of the competitors. The tension in the air was palpable, and when the starting signal was given, he'd feel a surge of exhilaration wash over him. Athletes sprinted with all their might, pushing their limits. Their faces a mix of determination and exhilaration. Hermes understood that these competitions were not merely about victory, they were about personal growth, camaraderie, and the celebration of the human spirit. Off the track, Hermes also played a crucial role in coaching athletes and guiding them during training. "Don't forget to stretch," he'd remind them, demonstrating the best techniques with his own graceful movements. His laughter would fill the training grounds, encouraging athletes to embrace the joy of the sport rather than solely focusing on winning. "It's not just about the trophy, it's about the journey too," he would proclaim, reminding them to enjoy every moment. In an amusing twist, Hermes occasionally found himself engaged in light-hearted competitions with other gods, challenging them to races or contests of skill. Picture him racing against Apollo, the god of music and arts, who often fancied himself a master of speed. "You may have the voice of a nightingale, but can you outrun me?" Hermes would tease, igniting a friendly rivalry that brought laughter and excitement to Olympus. Historians often ponder whether these playful contests were merely for entertainment or if they served a deeper purpose in fostering unity among the gods. Whatever the motivation, Hermes' antics helped to break down barriers and create connections, encouraging the gods to bond over their shared experiences and camaraderie. They were reminders that even in the divine realm, laughter and competition held significant value. As the games came to a close, Hermes would often find himself reflecting on the day's events. He witnessed athletes pushing their boundaries and overcoming obstacles, both physical and mental. The cheers of the crowd, the camaraderie among competitors, and the sense of achievement in the air reminded him of the importance of perseverance and teamwork. "Every race is a lesson," he would muse, smiling as he watched the athletes celebrate their victories big and tall. One particularly memorable moment came when a young underdog managed to outperform everyone's expectations. The athlete, once doubted by his peers, surged past the finish line, a look of disbelief on his face. Hermes couldn't help but leap into the air, celebrating the moment with exuberance. "You see, it's not about where you start, it's about how you finish," he shouted, his spirit lifting the entire crowd. As night fell and the stars twinkled above, Hermes felt a deep sense of satisfaction. His involvement in the world of sports reflected the essence of life itself, striving for excellence while celebrating every step along the way. Each race and each game was a testament to human potential, a reminder that determination, resilience, and a touch of humor could lead to extraordinary outcomes. In the grand tapestry of Greek mythology, Hermes stands as both a patron of competition and a symbol of the joy found in the pursuit of excellence. So, as you lace up your own shoes for a run or prepare for a friendly game, remember Hermes and his timeless message. It's not just about winning, it's about the journey, the friends you make and the laughter you share along the way. With a satisfied heart and a twinkle in his eye, Hermes settled down for the night, eager for the adventures that awaited him in the coming days. His role in the world of sports and games was but one thread in the intricate weave of existence, each moment bringing its own lessons, laughter, and a sense of connection to all. As the dawn broke over Olympus once again, Hermes felt a familiar tug at the heartstrings of his divine consciousness, a call to explore yet another crucial aspect of his duties, maintaining oaths and ethical conduct among gods and mortals alike. This responsibility, while perhaps less flashy than his role as a messenger or a trickster, was pivotal in the stability of relationships, both divine and mortal. In a world filled with power dynamics, promises, and expectations, Hermes acted as both enforcer and mediator, ensuring that integrity and trust remained at the forefront of human interactions. Picture the bustling agora of an ancient city, where people gathered to engage in trade, enter into agreements, and forge alliances. It was a hub of activity, filled with the sounds of voices negotiating and the rustling of scrolls being signed. In the midst of this vibrant atmosphere, Hermes quietly observed, ready to step in whenever he sensed a breach of trust or an unfulfilled promise. Remember, a promise made is a promise kept. He would remind merchants with a wink, ensuring that everyone understood the weight of their words. Historians still debate the deeper significance of Hermes' role as a guardian of oaths. Some suggest that his presence served to elevate the moral compass of society, while others argue that it reflected the necessity of maintaining order amid chaos. Regardless, Hermes understood the importance of this role. Without trust, the very fabric of society could unravel. A broken promise can lead to a rift deeper than any chasm, he would often say, emphasizing the need for honor and integrity. One of Hermes' most notable tasks was to oversee the swearing of oaths, a solemn ritual that bound individuals to their promises. Picture a gathering where two parties stood facing each other, their hands raised as they invoked the gods to witness their commitment. Hermes would stand nearby, his presence palpable, ready to ensure that the sanctity of the oath was upheld. "Call upon me, and I shall be your witness," he would say, reinforcing the gravity of the moment. In one particularly memorable instance, a merchant swore an oath to deliver goods on time to a neighboring city, promising that if he failed, he would forfeit a portion of his profits. However, as the deadline approached, he found himself entangled in a web of unforeseen complications. With anxious thoughts swirling, he contemplated breaking his promise. It was then that Hermes appeared, a playful yet serious look on his face. "Are you really willing to risk your reputation for the sake of convenience?" he asked, his tone light but edged with gravity. The merchant paused, considering the implications of his actions. "You're right," he sighed, recognizing that maintaining his integrity was far more valuable than any immediate gain. With Hermes' encouragement, he rallied his resources, found a way to fulfill his commitment, and even surprised himself by succeeding against all odds. The gratitude in the merchant's eyes as he delivered his goods was a testament to the power of honor and the positive ripple effects it could create. But Hermes' involvement didn't stop at merely overseeing oaths. He often found himself mediating disputes arising from broken promises. Picture him, winged sandals tapping lightly on the ground, as he arrived at a tense standoff between two friendsmen who felt betrayed by the other's failure to uphold their agreement. "Now, let's not let misunderstandings fester like an old wound," Hermes would intervene, guiding both parties toward understanding and forgiveness. Historians still ponder whether Hermes' mediation skills were a product of divine wisdom or his own experiences as a trickster. Either way, his ability to navigate complex emotional landscapes was unparalleled. He would encourage open dialogue, urging individuals to voice their feelings and understand each other's perspectives. Sometimes, all it takes is a little honesty to mend what's been broken, he'd remind them, emphasizing the importance of clear communication. One particularly amusing incident involved a group of warriors who had sworn an oath to fight side by side but found themselves arguing over trivial matters. With tensions running high, Hermes intervened with a clever quip. "I can't help but notice that you're fighting harder over who gets the last piece of bread than against your enemies," he joked, lightening the mood. But warriors erupted in laughter, and the tension dissipated, allowing them to refocus on their shared mission. As Hermes navigated these delicate situations, he recognized that maintaining oaths was not just about following rules, it was about fostering relationships and forgiveness. He understood that mistakes were a part of the human experience, and that growth often stemmed from learning to mend what was broken. With each mediation, he imparted a sense of hope and renewal and acknowledgement that everyone had the capacity to change for the better. At the end of a long day, Hermes would often retreat to a quiet corner of Olympus, reflecting on the many oaths he had witnessed and the connections he had nurtured. He felt a profound sense of fulfillment in knowing that he played a role in cultivating honor and integrity among both mortals and gods alike. The essence of trust, he realized, was the glue that held society together, and he was proud to be its champion. As the stars twinkled overhead, Hermes settled down, comforted by the knowledge that his role as the guardian of oaths was vital to the cosmic order. His influence extended beyond mere rules. It was a reminder that honor, integrity, and trust were essential threads in the tapestry of existence. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new promises to uphold, and new opportunities to foster connections. With a contented sigh, Hermes looked forward to the adventures that awaited him, ready to weave yet another day into the fabric of life, one oath at a time. With the sun rising in a burst of golden light, Hermes stirred from his slumber, ready to delve into another essential aspect of his multifaceted existence, the world of herbal remedies and healing. While he was often celebrated for his swiftness and cunning, Hermes also had a reputation as a healer, aiding both mortals and gods with his knowledge of nature's gifts. In a time when medicine was often a blend of superstition and observation, Hermes stood out as a divine figure who understood the powers of herbs and their potential to heal both body and spirit. Imagine a humble village where illness could strike without warning, and the community often relied on the wisdom of those who knew the land. Hermes would make his presence known, appearing in the quiet corners of gardens or beside bubbling brooks, gathering herbs and plants that would provide relief to those in need. "Ah, the sweet scent of chamomile," he would murmur, picking delicate flowers that had the power to soothe. Historians still debate the extent of Hermes' role in the realm of healing. Some argue that his abilities stemmed from his connection to nature and the earth, while others believe he inherited this knowledge from the gods. Regardless, his presence was a source of comfort for many. The unassuming way he gathered herbs and concocted remedies reflected his understanding of the delicate balance between nature and humanity. As he wandered through the landscape, Hermes would often encounter those in need of assistance. Picture a weary farmer struggling with a stubborn cough that lingered for weeks. "Ah, my friend," Hermes would say, appearing as if by magic. "Have you tried this mixture of honey and thyme? It'll soothe your throat and clear your chest." With gentle guidance, he would help them prepare a healing concoction, sharing the wisdom of the earth that had been passed down through generations. One particularly poignant moment came when a mother rushed to Hermes, her child suffering from a high fever. Panic filled her eyes as she recounted her worries, feeling helpless as she watched her little one struggle. With calm assurance, Hermes knelt beside the child, feeling the heat radiating from their forehead. "Fear not, for nature holds the answer," he said, swiftly gathering ingredients from the nearby surroundings. "With a bit of willow bark and some feverfew, we shall bring relief." As he mixed the remedies, he spoke softly to the child, weaving a tale of the healing powers of nature. "You see," he would explain in his soothing voice, "the earth provides us with everything we need to heal. Just as the sun rises and sets, so too can our bodies find balance." The child's eyes would flutter open, curiosity replacing discomfort as they listened to Hermes' words. With time and care, the fever gradually subsided, and the mother's gratitude transformed into joy. Historians often reflect on whether Hermes' healing abilities were a product of divine intervention or a manifestation of his humor and compassion. In either case, his interventions forged a deep bond between him and those he aided. He understood that healing was not merely a physical act, but also an emotional one, requiring empathy and connection. The reassurance he provided often proved as powerful as the remedies he crafted. Yet, Hermes' contributions to healing extended beyond individual remedies. He played a role in fostering herbal practices among communities, sharing his knowledge and encouraging others to honor the gifts of the earth. Picture him standing in the midst of a bustling village square, surrounded by eager listeners as he demonstrated how to identify the healing properties of various plants. "This plant here, the vibrant stinging nettle, can fortify your health," he would declare, plucking leaves with deft fingers. "And this, the calming lavender, can ease your worries." His teachings emphasized the importance of respect for the earth and the understanding that every plant held potential. "Nature is our greatest ally, and we must nurture it as we nurture ourselves," he would remind his audience, instilling a sense of responsibility in them to care for their surroundings. As he continued to engage with the villagers, Hermes often found himself reflecting on the interconnectedness of life. He understood that the act of healing was not only about remedies, but also about fostering relationships, whether with nature, fellow humans, or the divine. Each healing interaction enriched the lives of those involved, creating a web of support and compassion that extended far beyond individual remedies. One memorable day, Hermes encountered a group of children playing in a meadow. They had gathered wildflowers and were crafting crowns, giggling as they adorned themselves like royalty. "Ah, but did you know that many of these flowers have healing properties?" Hermes asked, joining their revelry. With their eyes wide with wonder, they listened as he explained how to create simple tinctures and salves from the plants around them. "You see, even in play, there is the potential for healing," he said, watching their enthusiasm grow. As the sun began to set, reflecting hues of orange and pink across the sky, Hermes returned to his tranquil spot atop a hillside, where he often took time to reflect. He felt a profound sense of fulfillment knowing that his role as a healer was interwoven with the very essence of life itself. Whether through the laughter of children or the gratitude of a mother, his interventions reminded him of the beauty of connection and the importance of nurturing both body and spirit. In the grand tapestry of mythology, Hermes exemplifies the delicate interplay between healing and nature. His knowledge of herbal remedies transcended mere physical healing. It served as a reminder that true healing requires understanding and compassion. As he settled down for a restful night, Hermes looked forward to the upcoming day. Each dawn brought new opportunities to weave healing into the lives of mortals, each interaction reinforcing the belief that kindness, care, and a little knowledge could transform the world. As the dawn broke over Olympus, painting the sky in pastel hues, Hermes felt a familiar thrill of excitement. Today, he would explore another layer of his complex identity, the art of persuasion and negotiation. While many gods wielded power through might or wisdom, Hermes relied on his silver tongue and charming demeanor to navigate the intricate web of interactions among both deities and mortals. In a world where deals and alliances could shift like the wind, Hermes thrived as the god of eloquence and diplomacy. Picture a grand hall in Olympus, where gods gathered to discuss matters of great importance. The air was thick with tension as deities debated crucial decisions that affected the balance of power. Hermes, with his keen awareness of the subtleties of human and divine behavior, entered the scene, ready to play the role of mediator. "Let's put our swords down and our minds together," he would say, flashing a disarming smile that instantly lightened the atmosphere. Historians continue to argue about the nature of Hermes' persuasive abilities. Some view him as a cunning trickster, using manipulation to achieve his goals, while others see him as a skilled diplomat who understood that cooperation often yielded better results than conflict. Regardless of these perspective, Hermes' talent for negotiation was essential in a realm where egos clashed and ambitions soared. One of the most significant examples of Hermes' diplomatic prowess occurred during a heated dispute between Zeus and Poseidon over the rights to govern the seas. The tension was palpable as each god presented their case, voices rising and tempers flaring. Sensing that things were about to escalate, Hermes stepped forward. "Mighty brothers, let's not forget the value of collaboration," he said, his tone calm and measured. "Together, your combined strengths could bring harmony to both land and sea." With a few well-placed words, he deftly guided the conversation, encouraging the brothers to consider the benefits of partnership rather than rivalry. "Imagine the wonders you could create by working together," Hermes continued, weaving a vision of mutual support that appealed to both their interests. Gradually, the atmosphere shifted, and the gods began to see the value in Hermes' proposal. By the end of the discussion, they had forged a new alliance, one that would benefit both realms and restore balance to their relationship. This ability to persuade was not limited to the grand debates of the gods. Hermes also applied his skills in everyday situations. Imagine a merchant struggling to negotiate a fair price for his goods. "I understand your perspective," Hermes might say, leaning in with genuine empathy. "But consider how a fair deal could ensure repeat business and build lasting relationships." His knack for finding common ground often turned potential conflicts into win-win scenarios. Historians still ponder whether Hermes' persuasive gifts were purely a result of divine nature or a reflection of his own experiences navigating the complexities of relationships. Regardless, he understood that effective communication was rooted in understanding emotions and motivations. To persuade is to connect, he would often say, emphasizing the role of empathy in the art of negotiation. One charming episode occurred when Hermes encountered a group of feuding farmers, each convinced that their fields produced the finest crops. With stubborn pride hanging in the air, mutual insults flew back and forth, threatening to escalate into a full-blown conflict. Hermes, sensing the need for resolution, approached them with a grin. "I see a great opportunity for collaboration here," he declared. "Why not set up a market together, combining your harvests? You could attract more customers than ever." His proposition caught them off guard, and as they considered the idea, their expressions shifted from hostility to curiosity. With Hermes' encouragement, they agreed to join forces, creating a vibrant market that celebrated their combined efforts. By the end of the season, they were not only thriving financially but also had formed a bond of friendship. Hermes watched with satisfaction, knowing that his ability to foster understanding had turned animosity into collaboration. As the day wore on, Hermes often found himself reflecting on the nature of negotiation. He understood that it was a dainty, delicate balance between listening and speaking, asserting oneself while remaining open to the perspectives of others. Each encounter, whether with gods or mortals, was an opportunity to practice this art, to weave connections and to foster unity. In one particularly amusing incident, Hermes found himself mediating a dispute between two artists competing for the same patron. Each artist insisted that their work was superior, their egos clashing like thunder. "Isn't it more exciting to collaborate and create something truly unique together?" Hermes chimed in, sparking their imaginations. With his guidance, they combined their talents, resulting in a stunning masterpiece that delighted not only the patron but also the entire community. Historians often muse whether Hermes' charm was innate or honed through experience. What was clear, however, was that he wielded his persuasive skills not just for personal gain but to elevate those around him. His interventions often had a ripple effect, fostering community and cooperation that transcended individual ambitions. As the sun set on another day in Olympus, Hermes settled in for a moment of quiet contemplation. He took pride in his role as a negotiator and peacemaker, understanding that his influence extended beyond mere words. He was a catalyst for change, a reminder that through empathy and dialogue, even the deepest divides could be bridged. Looking forward to the challenges that the next day would bring, Hermes felt a renewed sense of purpose. Whether guiding mortals in their dealings or mediating divine disputes, he knew that the art of persuasion was a powerful tool that could shape destinies and build connections. With a soft smile, he prepared for whatever adventures awaited him, ready to weave yet another chapter into the rich tapestry of existence. As the first light of dawn illuminated the skies, Hermes found himself reflecting on yet another crucial aspect of his divine duties, the balance of justice within both the mortal and divine realms. While many gods were often associated with retribution or power, Hermes took on the role of a mediator, ensuring that fairness and equity prevailed. In a world rife with complexities where ambition often clouded judgment, Hermes embodied the principle that justice must be tempered with compassion and understanding. Consider the bustling courts of ancient Greece, where disputes were settled and justice was sought. There Hermes would often appear, not as a judge wielding authority, but as a gentle guide, helping individuals navigate the intricate web of their grievances. "Let's ensure we hear all sides before reaching a verdict," he would advise, emphasizing the importance of perspective in every situation. Historians still debate the nature of Hermes' role in the judicial system. Some view him as a facilitator of justice, while others speculate he served a more symbolic function. Regardless, his involvement highlighted the necessity of empathy in the pursuit of fairness. To understand is to judge wisely, he would remind those involved, urging them to consider the feelings and motivations behind each grievance. One particularly significant case unfolded when two neighboring cities found themselves embroiled in a bitter dispute over land boundaries. Each claimed ownership of a fertile plot, and tensions escalated quickly. Sensing the potential for conflict to spiral out of control, Hermes took it upon himself to mediate the situation. Picture him appearing before the leaders of both cities, his presence radiating calm. "Let's not allow pride to dictate our actions," he urged, gently urging them to put aside their anger. Through careful listening, Hermes encouraged each side to express their concerns. As the discussions unfolded, he skillfully guided them toward common ground. "Why not consider sharing the land? Cooperation can yield prosperity for both," he suggested with a charming smile. His words resonated, softening their resolve and paving the way for a compromise. With Hermes' help, the two cities agreed to share the land, creating a thriving community that flourished as a result. The once bitter rivalry transformed into a partnership, demonstrating that cooperation could lead to greater rewards than conflict. The leaders expressed their gratitude, realizing that Hermes had not only resolved their dispute but had fostered a lasting bond between their communities. Yet, Hermes understood that justice was not limited to grand disputes, it extended to everyday interactions. He often found himself witnessing smaller injustices that, although seemingly trivial, could have significant effects on individuals. Picture a merchant being cheated out of fair payment by a less scrupulous competitor. Hermes would step in, a knowing glint in his eye. "It's important to uphold integrity in all dealings, my friend," he would say, encouraging the merchant to stand up for themselves while also reminding the competitor of the value of honesty. Historians continue to explore whether Hermes' interventions stemmed from a sense of duty or a deeper understanding of the human experience. Regardless, his ability to instill a sense of fairness in everyday situations reminded mortals that justice could take many forms, from lofty courtroom battles to the quiet resolution of grievances in the marketplace. One amusing episode involved a pair of feuding neighbors who constantly argued over whose cow wandered into the other's garden. Their disputes escalated to the point of absurdity, with each claiming damages and barking threats. Hermes, witnessing the chaos, decided it was time for a gentle nudge. Appearing as a humble farmer, he suggested a collaborative solution. Why not build a fence together? A little teamwork may save you both from future disputes. At first, they were resistant, but Hermes' charm and wit won them over. Soon, they began working side by side, laughing and sharing stories as they built their fence. Through this simple act, Hermes demonstrated that justice didn't always have to be a solemn affair. It could be achieved through collaboration, understanding, and even a dose of humor. As the sun set over the horizon, Hermes often took a moment to reflect on the day's events. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing that he was a custodian of justice, a role that required patience, empathy, and a genuine desire to create harmony. His interventions often had a ripple effect, fostering goodwill and understanding among mortals and gods alike. In the grand tapestry of mythology, Hermes embodies the delicate balance between justice and compassion. His role as a mediator reminds us that justice is not merely about enforcing rules, it is about fostering relationships, understanding perspectives, and creating an environment where everyone can thrive. As night descended and the stars began to twinkle, Hermes looked forward to the challenges that awaited him in the days to come. He understood that each day provided an opportunity to weave justice into the fabric of existence, to remind mortals that fairness could be achieved through understanding and cooperation. With a satisfied sigh, Hermes settled down, ready to embrace whatever adventures lay ahead, confident in his ability to guide others toward a more just and harmonious world. As dawn broke over the celestial realms, Hermes awakened with a deep sense of introspection, ready to explore the quieter, more reflective moments of his divine existence. In the hustle and bustle of life filled with messages, negotiations, healing, and justice, there were also the moments of solitude and contemplation that shaped his identity. These quiet times provided Hermes with the opportunity to reflect on his experiences and the lessons he had learned from both gods and mortals. Imagine a serene glade on Olympus, where the sounds of nature created a soothing symphony. The gentle rustle of leaves, the distant chirping of birds, and the soft trickle of a nearby stream formed a backdrop for Hermes as he sought solace. It was here that he often retreated to ponder the complexities of life, a space where the weight of his responsibilities could momentarily lift. Historians still debate the significance of these contemplative moments for Hermes. Some argue that they were a necessary counterbalance to his active roles, while others suggest that they provided him with insights that informed his actions in the mortal realm. Regardless, Hermes understood that reflection was essential for personal growth and self-awareness. In silence, we find clarity, he would remind himself, embracing the stillness around him. One morning, as he sat beneath a sprawling oak tree, Hermes found himself reflecting on the myriad of interactions he had experienced. Each encounter, a message delivered, a dispute resolved, a promise kept that left an indelible mark on his soul. With a gentle breeze brushing against his skin, he considered the emotions that intertwined through these moments: joy, sadness, triumph, and failure. To truly understand others, he mused, one must embrace the full spectrum of human experience. In these quiet hours, Hermes often contemplated his role in the lives of mortals, recognizing that his influence extended beyond mere tasks. Picture him closing his eyes, envisioning the faces of those he had helped: the farmer with a healed cough, the rival merchants who became friends, the children who learned the wonders of nature. Each interaction was a thread woven into the tapestry of his existence, reminding him that he was part of something far greater than himself. One particularly vivid memory came to mind: a day spent with a group of children in a village, teaching them about the healing properties of herbs. As they gathered wildflowers and crafted remedies, their laughter mingled with the rustling leaves, creating an atmosphere of pure joy. In that moment, Hermes had not only imparted knowledge but had also fostered a sense of wonder and curiosity. This is what life is about, he thought, relishing the warmth of those memories. Yet, amidst the fond recollections, Hermes also acknowledged the challenges he had faced. The weight of responsibility sometimes felt heavy, especially when outcomes did not align with his intentions. Even gods must grapple with uncertainty, he reflected, reminding himself that failure was part of the journey. It was during these times that he learned the importance of resilience and adaptability, the ability to rise again despite setbacks. Historians often ponder whether Hermes' contemplative nature was a result of his divine wisdom or a reflection of his own vulnerabilities. Regardless of the source, he understood that moments of introspection allowed him to connect with the essence of life itself. To be truly alive is to embrace both the light and the dark, he would remind himself, acknowledging that the journey was not solely about triumphs, but also about the lessons learned along the way. As he continued to meditate beneath the oak tree, Hermes considered the nature of change. Life was a constant ebb and flow, and he had witnessed firsthand how circumstances shifted in unexpected ways. Everything is in motion, he mused, watching the leaves dance in the breeze. To resist change is to resist life itself. He took comfort in knowing that adaptability was a strength. It allowed him to navigate the complexities of existence with grace. One day, as he wandered through the ethereal gardens of Olympus, Hermes encountered a small creature, a wounded bird struggling to fly. He knelt down, gently cradling the fragile being in his hands. "Even the smallest among us deserves compassion," he whispered, nursing the bird back to health. As it took flight, soaring into the sky, Hermes felt a profound sense of connection to the delicate balance of life. Every act of kindness ripples outward, he thought, knowing that even the smallest gestures could create waves of change. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over Olympus, Hermes felt a sense of completion wash over him. He understood that his moments of solitude were not simply a retreat from the world, but an opportunity for growth and renewal. They allowed him to reconnect with his purpose, reminding him of the importance of compassion, resilience, and understanding. In the grand tapestry of mythology, Hermes embodies the duality of existence: active and reflective, mischievous and wise. His contemplative moments serve as a reminder that even in a world filled with chaos and responsibility, there is value in taking time to pause, reflect, and connect with the essence of life. With a contented sigh, Hermes rose from his resting place, ready to return to the ever-changing world around. He carried with him the lessons learned during his time of reflection, eager to weave them into the fabric of his interactions. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to spread kindness, and new adventures to embrace. And with that knowledge, Hermes stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever awaited him. As the morning sun ascended over the horizon, bathing Olympus in a warm, golden glow, Hermes awoke with a sense of purpose. Today marked a significant moment in his journey, a reflection on his legacy and the impact he had left on both the divine and mortal realms. Throughout his dynamic existence, Hermes had played multiple roles: the messenger, the trickster, the healer, and the mediator of justice. Each aspect of his identity had contributed to a rich tapestry woven with the threads of experience, wisdom, and connection. Imagine Hermes perched atop a high cliff overlooking the bustling world below. From this vantage point, he could see the many lives unfolding: farmers toiling in fields, merchants exchanging goods, and children playing in the streets. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing that he had touched each of these lives in some way, whether through a message delivered, a lesson imparted, or a moment of compassion shared. This is what it means to truly live, he mused, embracing the beauty of connection. Historians still debate the extent of Hermes' legacy. Some view him as a mere trickster, a figure of light-hearted mischief. Others consider him a profound symbol of connection, embodying the essence of communication and understanding among humans and gods alike. Regardless of interpretation, there was no denying that his influence permeated various aspects of life, shaping relationships and guiding individuals along their paths. One particularly poignant memory surfaced as Hermes reflected on his contributions. He remembered a time he had brought together rival factions in a city embroiled in conflict. With patience and skill, he had mediated discussions, encouraging them to see their shared humanity rather than their differences. "We are all part of the same story," he had reminded them, urging them to find common ground. The resolution of that conflict had not only saved lives, but had forged a new beginning for the community, one built upon trust and cooperation. As Hermes pondered these moments, he also recognized the importance of his playful nature in nurturing relationships. His antics, while sometimes seen as frivolous, often served as a reminder to embrace joy even in the face of adversity. "Laughter is a powerful ally," he would say, knowing that humor could bridge gaps and soften hearts. Through his playful spirit, Hermes had encouraged others to find delight in the ordinary, creating bonds that transcended the mundane. The stories he had woven with mortals were equally meaningful. From the farmer who had learned to heal with herbs, to the young traveler who had found courage under his guidance, each encounter had left a mark on Hermes' heart. These connections make life richer, he reflected, grateful for the chance to share in their journeys. He understood that every interaction was an opportunity to uplift, to inspire, and to empower others to embrace their own paths. As he descended from the cliff, Hermes felt the pull of the realms he served. There were still messages to deliver, conflicts to mediate, and lives to touch. The world was in constant motion, and he was an integral part of its rhythm. With each step, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. I am not just a messenger, I am a facilitator of life, he thought, embracing the significance of his role. One particular task awaited him that day, a gathering of mortals and gods, where stories would be shared and bonds would be forged. Hermes smiled at the thought, the anticipation of the laughter and connections that would unfold filling him with warmth. Just as he had done countless times before, he was ready to weave tales that would echo through time to remind everyone of the beauty found in connection and the joy of shared experiences. As the sun reached its zenith, Hermes arrived at the gathering, greeted by the vibrant energy of the crowd. Laughter filled the air, and stories flowed like a river. He reflected on the importance of community, the ties that bind individuals together, and the collective wisdom that emerges when they come together. These moments are the heart of existence, he thought, knowing that each shared story would leave a lasting impact. In the midst of the festivities, Hermes took to the center, sharing his own stories of mischief, adventure, and the lessons learned along the way. The crowd erupted in laughter and applause, their joy washing over him like a wave. Life is a journey, he declared, and every twist and turn holds a lesson worth embracing. As night descended and the stars twinkled above, Hermes felt a deep sense of contentment. His legacy was not defined by grand achievements or accolades, but by the connections he had forged, the lives he had touched, and the laughter he had shared. He realized that each role he had played, the messenger, the healer, the mediator, and the trickster, had contributed to a greater purpose. With the festivities winding down, Hermes knew that his work would continue. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to inspire, and new paths to illuminate. As he looked out over the gathering, he felt a renewed sense of determination. This is just the beginning, he thought, ready to embrace whatever adventures awaited him. In the grand tapestry of mythology, Hermes stands as a testament to the power of connection, communication, and compassion. He reminds us that even the smallest acts can create ripples of change, shaping destinies and forging bonds that transcend time. As he settled down for the night, ready to dream of the adventures to come, Hermes felt a profound sense of belonging, a reminder that he was not just a god among gods, but a vital thread in the intricate fabric of existence, woven together by stories, laughter,